So it's just going to be a quick recipe on how to create a transparent glass material that doesn't have any reflection. So I've employed the Stanford Dragon here to help explain, and I'm going to modify the material on him so that we've got 100 transparency and a refractive index the same as glass, and set the diffuse up so the light can get all the way through the surface. So that's created a clear glass-like material. Now, as a result of doing that, you will see that not only do you get transparency, but you get reflection, particularly where the angle of incidence, the camera view, is getting close to just skimming along the edge of the geometry, like along the back here. If you want to see the effect of this material without reflection, you can go into render options and turn the optics reflection property off, and then render it, and you'll see that the dragon comes out much darker. But what I want to show you here is how to create a material that's like glass without reflection, without having to turn reflections off. We're essentially going to turn reflections off in the material property by using a negative value in here. And to create that negative value, I'm just going to put in a reflection value of 1 and put a blob in there, and then press shift and load in from the basic library. This check blue will convert this one into a negative output. So this needs to be alpha scaling so it can work with that low value there, because I don't need to get excessively high. But it's still going to be excessively high no matter what. I'm going to go into the deep text editor, turn off colour and bump for this, make sure I've got these dialogues open this dialogue here, select distance squared, this type needs to be minimum, octaves 1, and 3D is good, and we just need a frequency of -1. And when you see, there we go, this stripy pattern here, this is a very high negative output, but obviously we can't display a negative value on the screen or a very high positive value beyond the ordinary range, and that's what this is, a very high negative value beyond the ordinary range, that you just get these stripes. It's obviously an error, but we can take advantage of that. So now we've got negative reflection. The thing is, like you can see this spot here, I'll just turn the specular up to fully white so you can see the effect of this. When you get reflection, it automatically incorporates things like the diffuse colour, and it provides specular. So this is something Bryce has done to help us, but in this case it's a hindrance because it's getting in the way of our effect. So the diffusion has been pushed very high, the diffuse response, which is why it looks white. I can get rid of the specular response by setting that down to black. Right, that's Camtasia helping me out there. I'll just nip in and out of the deep texture editor to get rid of that. So I'll turn the specular and the specular halo, you won't have that problem hopefully, down to fully black, and you can see now that that's got rid of the problem with the specular halos and highlight, but it still looks very bright. Now if I turn the diffuse colour down, it'll stop being transparent, which is a problem, so it won't look like glass. So somehow we need to deal with this diffuse problem. I can show you how that is coming from the diffuse channel quite simply. Look at it now, and then what I'll do is I'll disable the sunlight so that cuts off the diffuse, and you'll see that our dragon is transparent and there is no reflection along this back edge. So if that was glass, that would be reflecting, but I want diffuse light in this as well. So we can employ another trick here in the material. I'll just turn the sun back on. So right, it's looking very bright at the moment. What you need to do is go into the material, and we'll drive the diffuse channel, you see we're doing alpha scaling, don't forget that, with negative diffuse. So it'll still be transparent for the transparent property because the diffuse colour will be white, but we can suck the light out of here with negative diffusion. So now the scaling factor from the diffuse response from the reflection is being cancelled out by negative diffusion, and it's all being done by this out of range function here that's giving us a high negative value, which means that we can now render our dragon in an ordinary render with reflection enabled and with diffuse light, but without any reflection occurring off the surface of the model. Now, I don't know how useful this is. I think it's just an interesting effect, which is why I'm calling this a recipe. So that's the end of the video. I hope you find this interesting, and you'll have a go at experimenting with these out of range values in your own renders.